Hello everyone and welcome. In this video I'm going to be sharing my thoughts on Season 6 Episode 1 of Fear the Walking Dead. As always is the norm with all my videos, I won't be holding back on any spoilers, so please do keep that in mind. Anyway, without further ado, let's begin. That may well be one of the best episodes of Fear the Walking Dead in years. I am trying not to get too excited for the rest of the season because I did enjoy the Morgan-centric premiere in Season 4 as well, and then the rest of the season was an absolute disaster. However, I can't deny that taken on its own, this is a fantastic episode. The episode starts with a bang and it doesn't let up at all as we are introduced to the bounty hunter who is featured in the Season 6 promo material. A random guy stumbles upon him and says that people are after him and that there's a hound after him, and basically asks the dude if he can help him. Then the hound appears from the bush and it's apparent that this dog belongs to the bounty hunter. And yes, the bounty hunter is after this guy and he chops his head off and puts it in a box with his name on it before then getting a call from Virginia who asks him to target Morgan Jones next. Now, as an opening to the episode, this immediately grabbed me and made me want to watch more. It's apparent that this bounty hunter means business. He isn't like some of the wishy-washy villains that Fear has had in Season 4 and 5. And I love the fact that he sort of played dumb with the dude who was sitting there, even though he knew full well that he had him exactly where he wanted him. After the opening credits, we then catch up with Morgan Jones, and through dialogue we learn that it's been about 5 to 6 weeks since he was shot by Virginia in the Season 5 finale, something which I didn't even know happened because I think I gave up with Fear episode 14 last season because I found it to be just absolutely terrible. So yeah, I didn't know he was shot, but I kind of got the gist what happened through the flashbacks at the start of the episode anyway, so I don't really feel like I've missed out on too much. When we meet Morgan, he is in a bad way. He has red bloodshot eyes and he has an infection from the gun wound from it not being healed or patched up properly, and he has a bullet piece still in his chest. And this means that walkers are ignoring him for some reason. I think that's the reason behind it anyway. I'm not entirely sure why the walkers ignore him, but that's a thing that happens throughout the episode. I mean, like I said, it may be because he's on the verge of death and walkers might not go for people who are dying. Perhaps it's a bit like World War Z where they only pick out healthy hosts, but then again that's something that's never been referenced in The Walking Dead before. Or it could be that because of the infection he smells like a dead person, because the characters in the episode do reference the fact that he smells like the dead, so perhaps that's why they ignore him. Or a third theory that I have is that Morgan does mention that after he was shot by Virginia, someone patched him up and he doesn't know who it was or why they did it. So perhaps they injected him with something or gave him some kind of walker repellent when they treated him. I don't know. The reason behind this isn't explained in this episode. However, it is a really cool idea, but I'm just hoping that this is something that is explained later on in the season. I hope this isn't just something that is ignored, because I don't think this is something that should be left to people to make their own theories and decisions about, because this is a pretty major thing in the Walking Dead universe, walkers ignoring someone, so I need an explanation for this. So please explain this later on in the season. Don't just leave this to fan theories and stuff, because that's going to be really unsatisfying in my opinion. I'm also hoping that the reason why the walkers ignored him isn't because this is some kind of fever dream he's having and that Morgan is actually dying and that the whole thing we saw was a hallucination, because that has been pushed around on the internet going into this season. That's been a theory that I've seen a lot of people talking about, and I pray that's not the case, because that would then render everything else that happened, that would render that as well not happening, and I hope that's not true, because this episode was really good and I hope it's not a fucking dream. Morgan runs into a guy named Isaac who is another great addition to the show, and that's really surprising that I actually like the two of the new characters on this episode, because I didn't really care for many of the new characters last season, so the writing, the dialogue and the character writing is a lot better in this episode than it has been in the last two seasons. And Isaac witnessed the walkers leaving Morgan alone, so he wants to use Morgan to deliver some supplies to his pregnant wife or girlfriend, because she's surrounded by walkers, so he wants to use Morgan to get through to her. Shortly after meeting, the two have their first encounter with the bounty hunter. Now, of course, I knew that Morgan and the bounty hunter were going to come to blows at some point in the season, but I didn't expect it 15 minutes into the season premiere. I was sure that he would be the new antagonist and Fear would drag this out for as long as possible. So for 15 minutes into the episode, to have him outside the shop with Morgan is demanding him to come out, that was pretty surprising for me in terms of how the episode was paced. I didn't expect the episode to be as quick as it was, to have so much action, have so much happening, but it was a pleasant surprise. Morgan and Isaac do manage to escape the bounty hunter's first attempt, and Morgan passes out, and Isaac has to take him back to his makeshift hideout place, which is like some kind of water tower that he's been staying in. The bounty hunter then turns up in his truck and attaches a rope to it and pulls it from the ground. So when I said this episode was, non-stop, I wasn't joking. Morgan and the bounty hunter come to blows, and Morgan incapacitates him by shooting him in the arm. And at this point my heart did sink a bit, because I thought, here we go again. Morgan still isn't going to aim for the head or the heart. He's still not going to kill people. And he's still going to let bad people get away, and then they're going to hurt people, and he's going to feel guilty. And we're going to go around in this cycle of Morgan sparing people, and it's just going to lead to nonsense storylines that we've had in the last 2 seasons. However, I had no reason to worry, because that wasn't the case at all. And that's because at the end of the episode, Morgan and the bounty hunter get into another fight, and the bounty hunter has the advantage. He's on top of Morgan, but then Morgan sort of somehow flips him over. I can't remember exactly what happens, but anyway, Morgan gets on top of him and ends up stabbing him with his Aikido stick, and it goes through his chest, but it's not gone through his heart, because the dude's still alive. And the dude's on the floor, and he starts taunting Morgan by saying, "You didn't do it then, and you're not going to do it now," which is obviously referring to the fact that he thinks that Morgan won't kill him. And at that point I kind of thought, you know what, he's right, Morgan doesn't kill people. That's been his entire attitude since he's came over to Fear. You don't kill, you help people, everyone needs helping, blah blah blah. So I was confident that the dude would survive and go on and play a big part in the rest of the season. Jesus Christ, Morgan, you chopped his head off, you animal! Now that was kind of what my reaction was like, because I did not expect Morgan to get the dude's axe and chop his head off, because Morgan doesn't kill people. That's been one of my major grievances with the show in the last 2 years, is that no one will kill anyone. They try to spare people, even the people who are trying to kill them. And like I said, I was certain that this guy would go off and regroup, and then he'd be the antagonist for the rest of the season, and stuff would happen which could have been easily prevented by Morgan just killing him when he had the chance. So I am glad, very glad, that Morgan did it. It was shocking as hell. I did not expect it. And after he kills him, Morgan drops his Aikido stick and picks up the dude's axe. And that is him sort of saying that he no longer needs this weapon of peace. He's rejecting that Aikido nonsense. It's a bit harsh to say Aikido is nonsense, but he's rejecting his values that Eastman taught him in The Walking Dead. And he's now on a mission to kill everyone. And that is further evidenced by when he phones up Virginia, or Virginia speaks to him on the walkie-talkie, and he says that Morgan Jones is dead and you're dealing with someone else entirely now. And that was fucking badass. Now I know that Morgan has flip-flopped between pacifist and clear mode so many times on the main show now that it is getting a bit tedious, but after 2 years of his all life is precious bullshit sweeping through the main cast of Fear the Walking Dead like some kind of fucking disease, I don't care. I am just happy to see him putting that nonsense behind him and going on a rampage. That's what I want to see. This is exactly what I've been waiting for Morgan to stop giving people chance after chance, stop giving people who are killing him the chance to go off and regroup and then attack him again. I'm glad he finally saw sense and killed someone before it became a bigger problem. Now if the rest of the cast can do away with the peaceful nonsense that they've been peddling the last 2 seasons, then this should be a very good season of the show. I will say though that as good as seeing Morgan kill the bounty hunter was, part of me does think it's a shame that such a great character was wasted and killed in 1 episode. But then again, if his death is the catalyst for Fear to become a better show than it has been during the last 2 seasons, then I'll take it. And as it stands, he's probably the best character in any Walking Dead show who's only been in 1 episode. I mean, even though he's in 1 episode, I think people are going to cosplay as him and people are going to remember him. And he was a fantastic character, despite being killed. So part of me wishes he stayed around for longer, but again, if this makes all the characters actually realise that they need to kill people to survive, then I'm all for it. And besides, Fear has shown with him and Isaac that they can create new, exciting one-off characters, so hopefully we get some new characters in this season who are just as good as them. I mean, despite Isaac only appearing in this episode, I actually cared when he died, and there have been instances in both The Walking Dead and Fear the Walking Dead where one-off characters had appeared in an episode and they've died, and then the characters have sort of acted sad about it, and I didn't really give a shit because I didn't know these people. I mean, I think there's an episode in Fear, I think it might be season 4 or 5, where this guy's dying and he wants to look at the stars, so Morgan goes to help him and puts him on the roof, and I just thought, you know what, I don't care about this dude. I have no reason to care for him at all, and everyone's acting like it's really sad that this random guy who we don't even know is dying, and I was just thinking, I don't care. I do not care. But when Isaac died, I was like, oh shit, I actually care about this guy who's only been on the show for sort of 50 minutes. So that just shows that Fear can write decent characters. They just haven't been doing it the last 2 seasons. The reason I liked Isaac was because he was the exact opposite of some of the over-the-top stupid characters we've had in the last couple of seasons. I mean, he was a normal guy. He was relatable. He just wanted to get some stuff for his wife or girlfriend or whatever and their new baby. That's something I can relate to. You know, I mean, if Morgan had spent the last 2 seasons helping people like him, people who I actually cared for, then the show wouldn't have been as bad as it was. So, yeah, I liked him because he seemed real. He wasn't like that stupid guy who died on the bridge filming the documentary, because that was terrible. Like, I just laughed at that. That was so dumb. Like, I cared about Isaac. So, please, Fear, keep this up. Please. I know liking a character because they're normal is a pretty low bar to strive for, but like I mentioned earlier, when you've had a lady who draws on walkers, a guy who sat outside a stadium and just didn't do anything, just waited for people to leave, June who keeps running away and expects people to care for her for some reason, and then, like I said a minute ago, that guy who died on the bridge, having someone who's just normal, who isn't an idiot, is actually kind of refreshing for once. I quickly want to mention before I end this video that I really enjoyed the action sequences as well this time around. I loved seeing Morgan fight, you know, injured with one arm and seeing him struggle against the walkers, and I think Lenny Jones was fantastic this episode, and there's no denying he is a talented actor anyway. He just hasn't had many good scripts to work with lately, but when he does actually have decent material to work with, he puts in a good show. So overall, I think that this episode was fantastic. I mean, I've seen some people saying that, oh, it's overrated, and people are only saying it's good because the rest of Fear is so bad, blah, blah, blah. And I don't buy that, because I think that even compared to the first 3 seasons of the show, this is a pretty damn good episode. And yeah, obviously compared to the last 2, it's, you know, way above that. But I still think this is a good episode anyway on its own, even without watching the last 2 seasons. It's a brilliant episode, and I hope that the next episode, I hope that the rest of the season is like this, and if it is, I may have to eat my hat, or I may have to eat something or do something, because, yeah, I was confident that this season would just be as bad as the rest. So I'm hoping that this season is better. I am still a bit cautious and a bit nervous about getting excited for it, because, like I said, the premiere of 4 was pretty good, and from what I remember, I don't think, you know, the premiere of 5, even though it was a bit dumb, that was actually quite fun to watch anyway as well. So Fear has history of having good openers and then sort of falling apart. So fingers crossed the rest of the season carries on in a similar vein, because this episode was fantastic. So what did you think? Did you like this episode? Did you think it was okay? Do you think it was a bit overrated? Or did you think it was just trash still? Whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comments below. And until next time, I'll see you all very soon. Thank you and goodbye.